everybody, and welcome to my podcast. If you've been watching, thank you. If you're just now watching, thank you. I appreciate all the support. It's new to me, and I'm just starting off, so I did want this video to be a little bit more clean cut, a little bit more precise. This is gonna be a video that is very near and dear to my heart, and was very hard for me. I did a lot of delaying the process of this video to come out. So it might look like Christmas, is not. I'm just one of the people that keep my Christmas tree up half the year, okay? But yeah. It literally took me 3 nights to shoot this episode because this video, the topic of this video is difficult for me, and I had to take myself back to a place that I didn't want to go. I don't know, like I said before, if you don't know, I am in school for psychology, and I want to be somebody who can help people, which is why I started this podcast. I want to be someone who can talk to people, especially Black women like myself, even other women who are not Black, whatever, women in general is my audience. But I also want men in my audience. I don't mean to be seclusive with my audience, but I especially want to talk to Black women, as I am a Black woman myself. I especially want to talk to women because I am a woman myself. So this video is for you guys. But it was extremely hard for me. This video today is going to be topicked as surviving domestic violence and toxic relationships. And I am a DV survivor myself. So that's why it was so hard for me. Because I feel like in today's world, like, domestic violence is taboo. Like, people talk about it, but not enough people. People bring awareness to it, but not enough people. And I myself posted a video probably years ago, documenting my experience, and I took it down because nobody wants to be known as that girl. Nobody wants to be known as the victim. Nobody wants to be known as the person who went through this. Yeah, this video is gonna be very hard for me. So trigger warning on that. I may or may not cry. I'm probably gonna cry. I cried practicing for this video, so I'm sure that there will be waterworks involved, but it is near and dear to me because I want to talk about it. I reached out to a friend of mine who actually is the one who inspired this video. She was someone who posted the video online on my Facebook page, and she deleted it. And that resonated with me because I did the same thing. And I feel like, especially in a small town like where I'm from, Augusta, domestic violence is taboo. Because people know maybe who you're talking about, or people know the person that you're referring to, and that makes it a little scary because the realistic part of domestic violence is, it happened. And whether that person wants to admit it or not, or whether that person wants to be honest about it, or even if, people know that person, it makes it harder to talk about for the victim. And when you are a person who has been through something so unimaginable, I feel like you should scream and shout it from the mountaintops, like, hey, this is something that I've been through, this is something I know about, and this is something that really changed and altered my life, and why should that be something that is taboo, something that shouldn't be talked about? So I want to start the video off with a prayer that I grew up looking at in my grandmother's living room, and my grandma raised me, so every day. And the prayer is called the Serenity Prayer. And the prayer goes like this. It's, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. It is a very beautiful prayer. And it's something that, like I said, I grew up with and I saw every day and I took for granted. But I feel like domestic violence is kind of like that, or toxic relationships in general. And my first point to this video is living through it. And living through it is going to be very hard for me to talk about because I don't see myself as that person anymore. The person who was abused, or the person who was broken, and the person who was shattered beyond belief. I don't see myself as that person anymore. So, but I want to speak to the women who are still in those situations that they feel like they can't get out of, or that there's no way out of, or that this is the person who loves me, and why would they do that to me? So in speaking to those women, I want to say this. I researched for this topic. I really dug in with this topic. So you might hear me rustling papers over here. And it's because, like I said, I want to be a little bit more organized. I don't want to speak from a paper, which is why I'm talking to you guys. But I also want to get back to my references and keep it real, you know, organized. But living through it is hard. I mean, it's the hardest thing you ever do. I mean, a lot of people who have never been abused or never been in a really toxic relationship would say, like, why would you deal with that? Why would you put up with that? And kudos to you. I would never put down a person who's never experienced this. Kudos to you, baby. Kudos to you for never having to deal with that. Never having to be a person who had to be put through that. Kudos to you. But I want to speak to the women who are going through it. And I want to say there's a way out. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I would say for myself, this kind of is where I wanted to tell my story. And I was 18 and I had literally only been with 2 people. That was it. And I was in the prime of my life and I met this guy. And let me tell you something about narcissists, okay? Or abusers. And I don't want to make them like, oh my God, they're so bad and they're villains, okay? Because those people, abusers and narcissists, are regular people, like day-to-day people. And I have literally said 100 times that people that do these things are people who are charming. They're people that everybody like, easy to get along with, easy to talk to, make you laugh. I mean, they are the most amazing people in your eyes. But narcissistic people are very specific. They know exactly when and where to target. And in their mind, it's all about control. This is someone to them who they can control, who they can manipulate. It's a lot of love bombing. It's a lot of gaslighting. And those are words like we hear all the time, like, oh, they love bomb me, oh, they gaslighted me. But I literally used to explain my relationship at that time as a roller coaster. I would say some days were really good and some days were really bad. That's literally what I would say. And it was normal to me. I mean, they groom you into thinking that this lifestyle, this mindset is normal, and it's not. And like I said, it's very hard for me to talk about, you guys. But it's not normal. And it becomes this thing that is bigger than you. You know, it becomes this thing that you're like, the thing that keeps people there. Because I know a lot of people who've never been through it, they ask, like, why would you stay? Why would you deal with that? Why would you put up with that? But the reality of the situation is, it's love. is simply love. And you literally will say, like, I know this person loves me. I know that they love me. And that justifies in your mind everything that this person has done to you, all the abuse, all the anger, all the lies, all the manipulation, all the gaslighting, all the love bombing. It puts it in perspective to you to where it makes it normal for you and it makes it love for you. But love shouldn't look like that. Love shouldn't feel like that. And the entire time that you're saying, like, this person loves me, like, this person is like the person I would do anything for and who would do anything for me. Because let's be clear, a narcissist and an abuser will literally make you feel like the safest person in the world. Let's be clear. The thing that keeps people there is they don't ever start out like that. They don't ever start out to be the person that you would feel would do this to you, right? They are loving to you. They give you a sense of security. They literally make you distrustful of everybody around you, family, friends. You're like, okay, why do I feel like I can't trust my friends? They're literally telling you, like, you can't trust them. They talk about you behind your back. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, yeah, you know what? They probably do. And in your mind, it's all validated. It's all validated. I literally had a person tell me, a person who goes through domestic violence is a weak-minded person. Please, please, whether you're a current victim or a survivor, please stop believing the ignorant lies that people who've never known this lifestyle say. Stop believing that it's normal. Stop believing that you should have left the first time. Stop believing that it was your fault. Stop believing that you could have changed the situation. Because part 2 of living through it is they gaslight you. And let me explain gaslighting a little bit here, okay? Gaslighting is making believe that, yes, it's your fault, okay? That they're angry, that they're upset, that they're putting their hands on you. That's gaslighting, okay? Also, though, they make you believe that you're no better than that. You don't deserve better than that. Nobody's going to treat you better than I do. Nobody's going to love you more than I do. Nobody's going to take care of you like I do. Nobody's going to allow you to use me as a crutch like I do. That is their ammo. And the love bombing is them letting you know how much they love you. Because 9 times out of 10, let's be for real, they do love you. They love you. And that's the part that's so hard to walk away from, because they love you. They do. They do love you. But, and this takes a while to realize, that's not the kind of love that you deserve. And it's not the kind of love that you would really want. So, stop judging and stop being so quick to judge people that stay in toxic relationships and abusive relationships. And abuse goes so many ways. 9 times out of 10, a toxic relationship is an abusive relationship. It doesn't mean he's slapping you around or she's slapping you around. It just means that they're using the same tactics that I just talked about, manipulation, gaslighting, love bombing, to keep you where you're at and keep you in the mind space that they want. A lot of people that go to the army or the military, they will tell you, in the military, they break your mind down to rebuild it so that you are military mindset. You have a military mindset, right? Abuse is kind of like that. They break you down, and it happens so slowly you might not even realize it. Not all the time. Sometimes it happens pretty quickly. But you're usually vulnerable. You're usually believing that this person loves you so much that they wouldn't do anything to hurt you. And they work up to it slowly. They use you and manipulate you slowly to where you're like, oh my God, where am I at? What am I doing? So that's what they do. And that's what makes people stay in it. If you don't know, that's what makes people stay. If you're asking, like, why would a person stay in an abusive relationship? That's what makes them stay. because this person has torn their mind and their self-esteem and their love for themselves and respect for themselves down so bad that they can't see any other life besides the one that they're in. Okay? That's what living through it feels like. And I can say with my situation, that's very much what it was like. It was living with constantly saying nobody's gonna want you. Nobody's gonna put up with what I put up with. No one's gonna let themselves be used as a crutch like you use me. They make themselves completely and totally an asset in your life, okay? I talk about this a lot with people that I deal with, but an asset is something that is valuable to you. Something that is hard to cut out of your life because it's allowing you to be a better person or get more money. Assets are used at jobs. If you're an asset to your job, it's harder to let you go, right? Because at this point, you're so important to the job. You bring a lot of money into the job. You bring a lot of information or intelligence into the job, so it's hard to let you go. A liability is something that's very easy to let go because it's constantly costing you. It's constantly hurting you and taking away from you. So a person who is a narcissist or abuser, they usually make themselves an asset in your life. They usually make themselves something that maybe pays the bills or puts food on the table or provides for you or gives you the lifestyle that you want. They become something that's very important to you. So it's very hard to let them go. That's what makes them hard to get rid of. That plus the love usually is chef's kiss, a dish, okay? It's a dish, a recipe for disaster, okay? So stop asking why people can't get out of it. That's my first part of it. That's living through it. The second part is getting through it, because that's the hardest part. The hardest part of being in a domestic or toxic relationship is saying, enough is enough. I deserve better than this. I deserve more than this. I deserve love. Before I made this video, I watched a video of myself on the ground and I was drinking. And drinking was the way I had become able to cope with my situation. And it became important to me. So I watched a video of myself with, that person, and I was crying and I was on the ground. I was like, nobody's ever loved me. And that was my reality. I'm sorry, you guys. This is really hard. This is a really hard video. I told you I really had to take myself back to a place. But this was my reality, was living with this person that I knew loved me. And that's what makes it so hard to leave them, because you know they love you and you know it. But love isn't respect. And that's what helps you get through it. Realizing that this love hurts me. This love doesn't feel good. This love hits me. And this love hates me. And this love talks to me any kind of way. And this love doesn't do any good to me. This love makes me feel bad. And that's getting through it. Getting through it is realizing that this love isn't for me. If this love loved me the way I love this love, it would treat me better. It wouldn't hit me. It wouldn't hurt me. It wouldn't make me want sometimes to be done with life. And unfortunately, toxic situations and domestic violence can make you do that. It can make you feel like there's nothing else. But, you gotta let them go. You gotta let them go. You gotta take that journey and you gotta say, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't want to be this person anymore. And once you get there, I promise you, y'all, I promise you, it's nothing else. It's nothing else that could hinder your growth. And it's nothing else that could hinder what you're designed for. I looked at some results because, you know, I'm trying to be, like I said, more on point. And I looked up some results, and the results was 41% of women experience domestic violence. 26% of men experience domestic violence. On average, it takes the victim about 7 times to leave. Domestic violence results in 1,300 deaths and 2 million injuries a year. What I want you guys to get from this is you owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself to respect yourself enough to say, I don't care how much I love this person, I want to leave. I don't care how much I love this person. Enough is enough. I don't care how much I love this person. I deserve more than this. I'm worth more than this. I'm owed more than this. You gotta let it go. You have to let it go. If it does not serve you, if it does not grow you, if it does not better you, if it hurts you, if it lies to you, if it manipulates you, if it gaslights you, if it love bombs you, you have to let it go. You have to say enough is enough, and you have to move on. And I'm here. I'm a living witness that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is life after love. And the hardest thing that you will ever do is walk away from somebody that you love with everything in you. But you have to love you more. You have to love you more. You have to respect you more. You have to say, I deserve better than this. You have to say, I've tried. I've put every single thing that I have into this, and it is not changing, and it is not going to change, and you have to leave. I remember the day I left my situation. I told y'all this is really hard for me, but I remember the day I left my situation. I remember we were fighting. We were arguing, and my son was probably about 3 months. And I remember we were fighting, and I went out to the car. I'm sorry. And I called my sister. And my sister is my best friend. And I remember I called my sister, and she said, well, I said first. I said, I can't leave. I said, I love him so much, and I know that he loves me too. And I said, I don't know how to leave this situation. I'm not any good. I cannot leave this situation. I'm not better than this situation. And my sister said to me, and it was a little harsh, but she said, if you allow somebody to take your confidence and make you feel I'm sorry. She said, if you allow, I put some napkins right there because I knew it. She said, if you allow somebody to take your confidence and make you feel like you're not better than that, she said, that's on you. She said, I remember a girl who used to wear socks up to her ankles and didn't care what nobody said about her or nobody thought about her. She said, if you allow somebody to break you down that much and take your confidence, then I don't know what to tell you. And I left. And I said, I don't want to do this no more. And the part that sucks the most is it wasn't ever my decision. I did leave, yes. But I remember it had got so bad that the person that I was going through all this with, they told me, I don't love you and I don't want to be with you. So I left. And I went back time and time and time and time again. I went back and I got more into it, and I got everything that I was getting before. Like, I got abused, I got lied to, I got manipulated over and over and over and over again. Until January 30th of 2019. I remember he said to me, I only deal with you to have sex with you. And I'm putting it in a nice way. He didn't say it like that, baby. But I'm putting it in a nice way. He said, I only deal with you to have sex with you. And I remember I left his house because I wasn't even staying with him. Let's be clear. Like, this was like almost 2 years or a year and a half after we broke up. And I said, I'm better than this. I deserve more than this. I'm worth more than this. And I said, if you can't see it, I said this to myself now. I said, if you can't see it, then just keep going. Take this feeling that you feeling and keep going. And eventually you will find it. You will find your worth. You will find your respect. You will find your own love for yourself. And you will not deal with this anymore. And that's what I did. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done. It was literally the hardest thing I ever done, to walk away from somebody that I loved more than myself. But I said, I can't deal with this no more. I can't put up with this no more. I can't say it's okay anymore. I can't tell people that it's working anymore. I can no longer make excuses anymore. And I walked away. And I look at that woman that I was then. Because I was a different person. Let's be clear. That's why, like I said before, this was so hard for me, because I had to go back to a place that I haven't been in years, okay, to talk to you guys about this. But I look back at that woman, and she was so strong. And she made the hardest decision that she ever had to make. And I don't want to tell you, I do not want to tell you that your trauma is what made you strong. I don't want to tell you that, because I feel like people always say that your trauma is what made you strong. But my trauma left me with insecurities. My trauma left me with fear. My trauma left me with PTSD. My trauma left me with a barrier put up that is almost impossible to penetrate. That's what my trauma left me with. So I don't want to tell you that. Okay? And that kind of brings me to my third point, which is moving past it. Coming out of survival mode. Survival mode is a hell of a thing. Survival mode is the scariest thing ever. Survival mode is flinching every time somebody reaches towards you. Survival mode is jumping every time somebody walks behind you. And I feel like people don't talk about it enough. People don't talk about the truth of living with post-traumatic stress. And let's be clear, my relationship wasn't the first time that I've been abused. At least, I would say at least not physically, but completely. Living with abuse is not easy. I've literally dated guys who said, you've been hit before. You know, jokingly, playingly, playfully, I'm sorry. But it's the truth. And it's easy to joke about, and it's easy to laugh about, and it's easy to play about. But it's true. I have post-traumatic stress. When people act out in anger, it scares me. I get away from them. When people reach out towards me too suddenly, I jump. When people walk behind me or startle me, I literally almost jump out my skin. Every single day, I suffer from this. But let's be clear. I am not a victim. I am not a victim of my situation. I'm not a victim of men. I'm not a victim of abuse. I'm not a victim of anything that I've been through. Let's be very clear. Because I've survived it. And at the end of the day, I know that I am strong enough. If it comes down to fight or flight, I'm going to fight every time. And I'm going to win. I tell people all the time, the best thing about rock bottom is there is nowhere to go but up. The best thing about being at the lowest of the low as you can go, is you can't go here, you can't go there, you're in rock bottom. I don't know if y'all have ever seen that SpongeBob. That's what it reminds me of a little bit, or when I think about this quote that I always say. But it reminds me of that SpongeBob episode. Y'all remember when he went to rock bottom and he had to climb back up, like take the bus, and it was like going straight up? That's what being at rock bottom reminds me of. All I got to do is catch that bus. All I have to do is have the strength to get on that bus and go up. And I'm better than my circumstance. I'm better than my situation. Let me tell y'all something. One thing that I realized about me, one thing that inspired me to start this podcast, one thing that inspired me to go back to school for psychology is God gives storms to people that he's preparing. There is a quote in the Bible that says, many are chosen, many are called, but few are chosen. Let me say that again. There is a quote in the Bible that says, many are called, but few are chosen. Okay? And when I hear that, that makes me think, I have been through hell and back. Okay? God don't give storms to people that he's not going to do anything for. God is not giving storms to people who don't have a greater destiny. God is not going to allow you to go through all these things and not have a purpose for you. Okay? So when I look at my situation, when I look at my circumstance, whatever it may be, good, bad, ugly, or worse, I look at my circumstance and I say, God, what's your plan for me? I stopped asking why a long time ago, because every time I used to go through something, I used to say, God, why? Why am I going through this, Lord? Why am I going through this? I started looking for the reason, because he's showing me this. He's putting me through this for a reason. My job is to figure out why and to figure out my purpose. And I started to realize that my purpose is to talk to people. My purpose is to speak to people. My purpose is to touch people. And that's all I want to do with this podcast. It's all I want to do in my schooling, going back to school for psychology. I want to touch somebody. And I want them to know that you are better than your circumstance. You are better than where you are now. The plan is for you to move forward, not back. Yes, when you're in something, feel it. Go through it. The only way through a storm is to go through it. You can't go around it. You can't go under it. You can't go over it. Y'all remember that song growing up? You have to go through it. And once you get on the other side, you have to realize why. Because one thing about it, if you don't learn the lesson, you're going to go through it over and over again. A lot of women wonder why they keep going through the same man over and over and over again with a different face and a different last name. The reason that you keep following up on the same man over and over and over again is because you're not learning the lesson. You're not learning the lesson. God is trying to teach you the lesson, and instead of learning the lesson, you're getting caught up in the path of it all. You're getting caught up in the experience of it all. You missing the whole point of it. You have to learn what your situation is and where you're at, and you have to figure out, how can I not be here again? And the saddest part about it is, when we really look at how can we not be here again, is when we go through something traumatic, like domestic abuse, like toxic relationships. When we go through those things, we say, I don't never want to be back there. And that's when we really make a change. That's when we really make a difference. That's when we really learn from our situation. When in reality, it shouldn't even have took all that to tell you what you needed to know way back when. The reality of it is, the Bible says our days are full of trouble. What's the need of making more? What's the need of making more trouble than what's already promised to you? Stop making more trouble for yourself and figure out your storm while you're in it, so that when you get through it, you ain't got to go through it again. That's the reality of the situation. Stop going through the same thing. You have to realize at some point, when you keep going through the same thing going over, the problem is probably not the other people. It's probably you. You're not getting it. God is trying to show you something, and you're not listening. You're not adhering to what's going on around you. You're not learning the lesson. So you got to go through it again and again and again. It's just like going to school. When you fail a class, guess what happened when you fail a class in school? You got to go through it again because you ain't learned nothing. Lessons from God is the same way. If you didn't learn anything, guess what? You're going through it again. So stop wondering why I keep having to go through the same man 10, 20, 30 times. You're going through the same man 10, 20, 30 times because you ain't learned your lesson the first time. If you learned the lesson and you moved on from the lesson and you took what you needed from the lesson, you would have the tools that God has equipped you with to get through it. And you wouldn't have to go through it again because you got the tools that you needed the first time. But when you didn't get the tools and you so busy worried about the experience, you missed everything. So guess what? Lesson number 2 with the same person, a different name, a different face. Stop going through the same lesson over and over again and learn the first time. And listen, I know that I sit on this podcast and I talk like I got all the answers, but I don't. Lord knows I can tell you stories about how many times I've dealt with the same man with a different face. But I'll tell you one lesson I had to learn one time. And that was a toxic relationship and domestic violence. I only had to learn that once. Because I took what I needed from the lesson the first time. And I said I would not be treated like this again. I would not allow a man to put his hands on me. I would not allow a man to abuse me. I would not allow a man to manipulate me. I would not allow a man to gaslight me. I would not allow a man to love bomb me. And I took what I needed and I got through it. And I never had to go through it again. Because at the first sign of anger, at the first sign of manipulation, at the first sign of lying, at the first sign of cheating, at the first sign of gaslighting, at the first sign of love bombing, I get on. I get on. Because that was the hardest thing that I ever had to go through in my life. And I thank God for that 18, 20, 21, 22-year-old girl that went through that for me. I would never look down at the person I was because the person that I was made me who I am. The person that I was went through what she went through so that I could be the person I am sitting here talking to you today. The person that I was went through her trials and her tribulation and her tears and her heartache and her pain so that I could talk to you today and say, let it go. Let it go. It is not worth it. It is not worth your life. It is not worth your pain. It is not worth your trauma. Because all that comes from toxic relationships and domestic violence is trauma. It is not worth it. Let it go. If that man can't love you like he's supposed to love you, let it go. If that man can't show you who he is, let it go. If that man got to manipulate you to love you, let it go. Let it go. Let it go. And move on, because I am a living testimony. I couldn't talk to you if I'd never been there, but I can talk to you because I've been there. I've done that, and all I can say is, y'all, I took myself from a broken-year-old 18-year-old girl with a baby or 20-year-old with a baby who had been beaten and abused half her life, who had been raped, not by the same man. I'm not gonna put that on him. He did what he did, but he didn't do that. Who had been raped, who had been lied to. And I came from that little girl to a woman who makes her own rules, who takes no crap, who hides from no one, who hides from not one challenge, who leaves at the first sign of trouble, who leaves at the first sign of inconsistency, who leaves at the first sign of lying, who leaves at the first sign of cheating, who leaves at the first sign of anything that I don't want to deal with. I have came from that woman, that little girl, to this woman. That's why I can't never keep the person that I was, because the person that I was made me who I am. So, I did see a quote that I wanted to tell you guys, and the quote was, your strength is not measured by how much you endure, but how much you rise above. And I want to tell y'all, you can rise above. You can be better than your situation. You can be better than your circumstance. You cannot let love allow you to disrespect yourself. They go hand in hand. If the love that you are in makes you feel like you're not respecting yourself, makes you feel like you're not worthy of who you are, if the love that you are in makes you question anything about you, your worth, your love, your respect for yourself, then leave. Let it go. Because you're better than that. And you deserve better than that. And it's time, ladies, that we start taking our power back. We are powerful. Black women are powerful women. We have endured. White women too. All women. I don't want to seclude it or include just black women. I want to say women, period. Women, period, have been through it all. Okay? Your ancestors will be frowning on the today women, okay? The women that march for the rights to vote, the women that march for the rights to work, the women that march for the rights to have equal rights as men would frown upon the type of women that we've become. They would frown upon the women that we've become. The women that settle for anything because they don't want to look. The women that settle for a man that abuses you mentally, physically, a man that abuses you, like manipulates you, a man that lies, a man that cheats, a man that doesn't provide. They would be ashamed of who we've become. Your ancestors is not happy. I don't know how to tell you that any other way. We got to stand up, ladies. We got to take our power back. And we got to be the women that God made us to be. We have to be the women that our ancestors paved the way for us to be. We have to take our power back. And we have to recognize the power that we have as women. And until we do that, you can't expect these men to change. Why would they? They're given every opportunity not to. By the lack of respect that we have for ourselves, by the lack of self-esteem that we have for ourselves, by the lack of independence, by the lack of everything that we lack, they take advantage of. So it's time to take your power back. It's time to say, I'm not dealing with this. I'm better than this. It's time to say, I can do it on my own if I got to. It's time to say, I deserve more than this. I'm not dealing with this. It's time to say, if you can't respect me, I will. It's time to let it go if it don't serve you, if it don't respect you, if it can't keep its hands off you. It's time to let it go, ladies. Remember, you don't get to choose how someone loves you, but you do get to choose whether you're going to deal with it or not. Please, ladies, choose yourself. Choose yourself. And realize, if you're a woman who's been through a toxic relationship or domestic violence, you've survived something unimaginable, a trauma and pain, that an unbearable hurt that changed you. And you overcame it. You overcame it. You might got your traumas and you might got your problems. And guess what? A therapist can solve that. Time with God, time in your Bible can solve that. But you are stronger than you ever thought you were. And you overcame something that would break most women. So don't let your trauma define you. Be better than your trauma. And be better than the disrespect. And be better than men who don't want to respect you. And let it go. And that's how you live through it. So, and like I said before, just remember, God don't give storms to people who ain't got no purpose. When you wake up, I want you to remember, that's you waking up with a purpose. That's God letting you know, hey, you still here because I got a plan and a purpose for you. And if you can't see that, then why are you here? Learn from it. Every experience in your life, stop asking why and start asking what. Stop asking why and start asking what. Because guess what? It's the reason you're going through it. And ask God, what am I supposed to learn from this? What is the meaning behind this lesson that you're giving me? And once you start asking that question, you won't go through it again. God gives his strongest battles, his hardest battles, to his strongest soldiers. And ladies, we got to start embracing them struggles And we got to start learning from the struggles so we ain't got to go through it over and over again. We have to take our power back, and we have to be better than our situation. I want to thank you guys for listening. I want to thank you guys for dealing with me crying and going through this situation. I am going to work to insert some pictures to this video. I'm still working on editing and stuff like that, but I want to insert some pictures of what I've been through. And I hope that I touched someone today. And I hope that I've changed someone today. And I just want to tell you guys that with God, all things are possible. Allow him to lead you, guide you, and work through you. Because everything that you've been through has a purpose. And there's a reason that you're going through what you're going through. He's not putting you through everything just to fail. You climb this mountain, let's get to the top of it and figure out what's going on, and let's find our purpose together. Thank you so much for listening, and you guys have a wonderful day, and make sure you drink your wine. Thank you guys. Bye. I just wanted to insert these clips in here to let someone know that no matter how bad it looks or how bad it feels and how broken you may feel, that there is a way out and there is recovery, and that as hard as it is, all you have to do is find the strength to get out, and you can survive and grow.